Okay, so today I just wanted to sit with this Vintage Deluxe for just 5 or 6 minutes and play a humbucker guitar. I hadn't really done that yet on this amp. And tomorrow I'm about to start making a series of videos where I'm going to take you through the process of me choosing my next amp. And one of the sort of shortlist is this Two Rock. The other two are the Magnatone Twilight and Mono, which I do already own. I haven't used it on the channel much. The question is, do I keep that or do I move to the Two Rock or the Victoria Silver Sonic that I've got here on loan as well? They all have reverb and tremolo, they're all 6v6 amps, and they're all easily portable. Two of them are combos, and the Magnatone is a really light head and cab that's, if anything, easier to move in a way because it's just so light. So that's going to be a really fun set of videos, but I need to take you through the 3 amps, you know, Strat, Tele, open tuning, slide, baritone, Les Paul, SG, everything, you know, my Junior. So that's going to be a long set of 3 videos probably until we figure out by the early or middle part of next week which I'm going to keep. So that's going to be great fun. So yeah, I just wanted to sit here with this humbucker and it's just going to be 5 minutes of playing really. But I'll give you my thoughts in a second. No, really, you can use a Two Rock with humbuckers. I promise. As with all the other Two Rocks with humbuckers, there isn't a loose feeling like a tweed. It's not warm and blooming. It's more tight and I would think really great for being in the mix. You know, these amps are made really for professionals. Let's compare it to like the camera world. You have what's like known as prosumer stuff, which is the higher end camera gear, which really most amateurs don't need, but hobbyists or, you know, out of passion and interest, you might buy those. I'd say it's similar with the Two Rocks. You know, people leaving comments about pricing on those maybe aren't taking into account the fact that on the whole, they're made not in very large numbers. And for someone who's gigging 200 gigs a year, it's part of their toolkit. It's not really meant to be compared to what the average person might use at home. But on the other hand, just like in the camera world, you have people who have a real passion for these things and are happy to pay for that joy. And let's not forget that when you buy a Two Rock, you're not going to just lose all that money. You see the big price tag, but normally when you sell them, you lose about a third. So if you've had it for 4 or 5 years, you've gigged it a lot, or you've had a lot of fun from it, then it's going to cost you about a third of that price tag, which I think is probably worth it, but it's up to you. That was just a sideline because I've been getting a lot of comments about the price of this amp. So you'll notice there in that last clip where I showed you the settings that I really had taken all the bass out, used a lot of mids, and that is mainly because these Two Rock amps tend to have a lot of bass in them. It's great that when you turn it down, it doesn't really take away from the tone as a whole. Yeah, obviously it removes the bass, but it's not then dragging other things out. You know, the mid and treble controls have their own distinct, you know, part of the EQ, I guess. I mean, like all the controls are sensitive. Now, the next clip, I'll have put some of that bass back in, and the first clip had a little bit more bass than that even. But again, all the clips had the bass below 9 o'clock. Otherwise, the bass just sort of overtakes when you have the gain up high. It's worth noting that this amp is not very high gain. You know, you see how high the gain is in that clip, and in this whole video, it's really high up. If you then put the master way high up, you'll have a lot more gain, but obviously you have a lot more volume. So yeah, it's got a vintage amount of gain, you know, low to medium gain. Now, I'm yet to try a single pedal really with this. I think I tried a fuzz face at some point. So again, that needs to come in the comparison video. But I imagine you can push this over into a lot more drive with pedals, of course. And I know from I did play with a fuzz face and a Strat a couple of days ago that I've not put out a video on that yet. It handled pedals like amazingly, you know, as you'd expect an amp like this to do, which I like about the lower gain stuff. It will handle pedals really well and allow the pedals character to come through. But yeah, it has got a very vintage character, and I think they've been careful to make sure it doesn't move over into that smoother, more modern overdriving sound. The amp stays sort of very gritty and grindy and granular in its sound. There's a lot of detail and clarity, and it has that lovely, like with an old amp and with the reverb especially, you know, when you sort of stab at it, the harmonics sort of come out in a lovely textured way. So I think that that's the key thing for this. So we'll just finish off with another minute or two's playing. Just as a first time using humbuckers, I really enjoyed it. Will I prefer it to the tweed style amp or the magnetone with humbuckers? I don't know. Honestly, I'm going into this couple of days of filming that I've got to do on those 3 amps completely open-minded. So I think you'll probably find that interesting. You know, if you've been looking for amps yourself and you're never sure how to decide on an amp, I'm going to talk about things in a general way as well as specifically to those 3 amps. So yeah, stay along for the ride. I think it will be a good one. So anyway, have a good evening. Cheers.